At his wedding, my son screamed, "Get out. She doesn't want you here." I walked out silently, tears streaming. The next day, "Mom, give me the mansion keys. We're honeymooning there." I gave him the keys with a smile. When they turned on the TV in the master bedroom, there was a nice video of his bride playing on every channel. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I'm Dorothy Walsh, 67 years old, and apparently the most unwelcome mother-in-law in Connecticut. But let me backtrack to how I got my perfect revenge on the woman who stole my son and the son who betrayed me. The wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I'd spent 3 months helping plan every detail from the flowers to the catering menu. I'd even bought a beautiful navy dress that complemented Sophia's color scheme. Everything was perfect until the moment I walked into the reception hall. "What is she doing here?" Sophia's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. She stood there in her $5,000 dress, pointing at me like I was some unwanted party crasher. My son, Michael, the boy I'd raised alone after his father died, just stood there frozen. "I invited her," Michael said weakly. "She's my mother." "Your mother?" Sophia's laugh was sharp and cold. "The woman who tried to sabotage our engagement. The woman who called me a gold digger at the rehearsal dinner." I never called her that, though I certainly thought it. What I actually said was that I hoped they'd discuss their financial expectations for marriage. Apparently, that counted as sabotage in Sophia's world. "Get out." Michael suddenly exploded, his face red with champagne and anger. "She doesn't want you here, and honestly, neither do I. This is supposed to be our day, not another one of your guilt trips." Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching. The entire reception hall went silent. 200 guests stared at me as tears rolled down my cheeks. My own son, the boy I'd worked 3 jobs to put through college, was throwing me out of his wedding like yesterday's garbage. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I simply picked up my purse, walked to the door, and left. But as I sat in my car in the parking lot, watching through the windows as the party continued without me, something hard and cold settled in my chest. If they wanted to treat me like the enemy, maybe it was time I started acting like one. The next morning, Michael called. His voice was different now. Sweet and apologetic, the way it got when he wanted something. "Mom, I'm sorry about last night. Sophia was just stressed, and I overreacted. You know how weddings are." "Of course, sweetheart," I said, though my heart was still broken. "These things happen. Actually, we have a favor to ask. Could we borrow the keys to the mansion in the Hamptons? We want a honeymoon there instead of going to Italy." The travel costs got a bit higher than expected. The mansion, my late husband's family estate, worth about $4 million, which Michael thought he'd inherit someday. The same property where I'd spent my happiest years before Robert died. The same property where I'd installed a very sophisticated security system 6 months ago. "Of course, darling," I said, sweetness dripping from my voice. "I'll have the keys ready for you this afternoon." When Michael arrived with Sophia to pick up the keys, I couldn't help but notice how she avoided eye contact with me. Good. She should feel ashamed of herself. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Walsh," she said in that fake sweet voice she used when she wanted something. "This means the world to us." "Oh, call me Dorothy," I said, handing over the keys with a bright smile. "After all, we're family now." They drove off in Michael's BMW, laughing and planning their romantic getaway. I watched them go, then went inside to check my laptop. The security system I'd installed wasn't just for burglary protection. It included cameras in every room and the ability to override the entertainment system remotely. I opened the control panel and started uploading a very special video to the mansion's media server. A video I'd been saving for exactly the right moment. A video that was about to turn their honeymoon into a nightmare they'd never forget. Because 3 months ago, I'd learned the truth about my sweet daughter-in-law. And now it was time she learned what happens when you mess with Dorothy Walsh. Let me tell you how I discovered what kind of woman my son really married. It started with a phone call that changed everything. "Mrs. Walsh, this is Detective James Morrison with the Hartford Police Department. We're investigating a fraud case, and your son's fiancé's name came up. Could we speak with you? My blood ran cold. This was 2 weeks before the wedding, and I was in the middle of addressing invitation envelopes when the call came. What kind of fraud? I managed to ask. Credit card fraud, identity theft, some other charges. We believe she may have used false information to obtain credit under her previous name. The name Sophia Chun is relatively new. Sophia Chun. Her name wasn't even real. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair, my mind racing.
Who had my son agreed to marry? What was her previous name?
I asked. Sarah Martinez. She's been Sarah Martinez for the past 8 years until she legally changed her name 18 months ago. Right around the time she met your son, actually. 18 months ago. Exactly, when she'd shown up at the country club where Michael played tennis. Claiming to be new in town and looking for tennis lessons. What a convenient coincidence. Detective Morrison, what exactly are you investigating? She ran up about $75,000 in credit card debt under her previous identity, then disappeared. Changed her name, changed her entire identity. Her victims were mostly older men she met through dating apps. She'd gain their trust, get access to their financial information, then max out credit cards before vanishing. I felt sick. My son, my trusting, naive son, was about to marry a con artist. Have you spoken to my son about this? We tried, ma'am. He refused to listen. Said we were wrong about her, that she'd told him about her name change already. Said it was because of an abusive ex-husband. Of course, she'd have a soba story ready. That was probably how she'd hooked Michael in the first place. My son always was a sucker for a damsel in distress. What can I do to help? I asked. Honestly, not much legally. She hasn't technically committed any crimes as Sophia Chun, but we thought the family should know what they're dealing with. After the detective hung up, I sat staring at the wedding invitations scattered across my table. 200 people were about to watch my son marry a criminal. But how could I stop it? Michael was completely under her spell, and as he'd made clear repeatedly, he thought I was just a jealous mother trying to interfere. That's when I decided to do some investigating of my own. If the police couldn't prove anything, maybe I could find evidence they'd missed. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Carmen Rodriguez, who specialized in background checks. Within a week, she'd uncovered more than the police had. Your future daughter-in-law is quite interesting, Carmen said, spreading photos and documents across my coffee table. Sarah Martinez was married twice before, both times to wealthy older men. Both marriages ended in divorce, with her getting substantial settlements. I studied the photographs. There was Sophia, but younger, with different hair, laughing at charity galas with men old enough to be her grandfather. This one, Carmen pointed to a photo of Sophia with a silver-haired man in a tuxedo, was Marcus Freeman, a real estate developer in Florida. They were married for 18 months. He died of a heart attack 6 months after their divorce was finalized. That's suspicious. It gets better. The autopsy showed elevated levels of digitalis in his system. Not enough to be lethal, but enough to cause the kind of heart stress that might trigger an attack in someone with pre-existing conditions. My hands started shaking. Are you saying she murdered him? I'm saying the timing was very convenient. She got a $2.3 million settlement from the divorce, then inherited another $800,000 when he died. No charges were ever filed, but the family was suspicious enough to request the autopsy. Carmen pulled out another file. Then there's husband number 2, David Park, a tech executive in California. Same pattern. Whirlwind romance, quick marriage, mysterious health problems, expensive divorce, then a convenient accident. What kind of accident? Fell down the stairs in his home. Broke his neck. Again, no charges filed, but the insurance company fought the payout for 2 years. I felt like I was going to be sick. This woman, this predator, had somehow gotten her claws into my son. And there was more. The really interesting part, Carmen continued, is what happened in between marriages. She'd take breaks, completely disappear for 6 months to a year, then resurface with a new identity, new story, new hunting ground, and now she's hunting my son, it appears. So, the question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about that for a long time. I could show Michael the evidence, but he'd already made it clear he wouldn't listen. I could go to the police again, but they'd already said there wasn't enough for charges. Or I could wait and watch and hope she revealed herself before it was too late. That's when Carmen showed me the final piece of the puzzle. "There's one more thing you should see," she said, pulling out her laptop. I managed to hack into Sarah's old iCloud account, the one she thought she'd deleted. She's not as tech-savvy as she thinks. The video started playing, and my jaw dropped. There was Sophia or Sarah or whatever her real name was, but she wasn't alone. And she definitely wasn't the innocent victim she pretended to be. "When was this filmed?" I asked. "Based on the metadata. About 6 months ago, right around the time she got engaged to your son." I stared at the screen, watching my future daughter-in-law in a very compromising position with a man who definitely wasn't Michael. The audio was crystal clear, including the part where she laughed about her naive fiancé and how easy it would be to clean him out. "Can you make me a copy of this?" I asked. Carmen nodded. "What are you planning to do?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'm going to save my son, even if he hates me for it." The next 2 weeks before the wedding were the longest of my life. Every day, I watched Michael get more excited about his future with Sophia, and every day, I knew more about what she really was. I tried one more time to talk to him. 3 days before the ceremony. "Michael, sweetheart, are you absolutely sure about this marriage? Have you and Sophia discussed your long-term financial goals?" He rolled his eyes. "Mom, not this again." "Yes, we've talked about money. Yes, I know you think she's after the family money, but you're wrong about her. What exactly has she told you about her past?" "She was married before to an abusive man. She had to change her name to escape him. She's been hurt before, which is why she's cautious about trust. But she loves me, Mom. Really loves me." The lies came so easily to her, and he believed every word. "And you've met her family." "She doesn't have family. Her parents died in a car accident when she was young. She was raised by an aunt who's now in a nursing home with dementia. It's actually really sad." Another lie. According to Carmen's investigation, Sophia's parents were alive and well and living in Phoenix. They tried to warn her previous husbands about their daughter's history, but by then it was always too late. "Michael, what if I told you I had proof that she's not who she says she is?" His face hardened. "I'd say you need to stop trying to destroy my happiness. I know you're lonely since Dad died, but that doesn't give you the right to sabotage my marriage." That hurt more than anything Sophia had done to me. My own son thought I was so pathetic, so desperate for attention that I'd lie to keep him single. "I would never lie to you about something this important." "Really? Then where's this proof?" I hesitated. Showing him the video would destroy him, and there was no guarantee he'd believe it wasn't somehow faked. Sophia had done an excellent job of painting me as an unstable, jealous mother. Anything I showed him would be dismissed as another attempt to break them up. "I thought so," he said when I didn't answer. "Mom, I love you, but you need to accept that I'm getting married. Sophia is going to be your daughter-in-law, and if you can't be civil to her, then maybe you shouldn't come to the wedding." That was the moment I knew there was no saving him before the marriage. He'd have to learn the truth the hard way, but that didn't mean I couldn't be prepared for when reality hit. The wedding planning continued around me like a nightmare. Sophia made a big show of asking for my opinion on flowers and music, but it was clear she was just humoring me. Michael had obviously told her about our conversation because she started being extra sweet as if she was proving how wrong I was about her. "Dorothy, you have such good taste." She'd coo, showing me fabric sample. Michael is so lucky to have such a devoted mother. But I caught the look in her eyes when she thought I wasn't watching. Cold calculation, like she was measuring me for a coffin. 2 days before the wedding, she made her biggest mistake yet. She asked to meet me for lunch, just the two of us. "I know this transition is hard for you," she said over salads at the country club. "Michael means everything to you, and now you have to share him." "That's what mothers do," I replied carefully. "We want our children to be happy." "Of course. And I want you to know that I would never try to come between you and Michael. Family is so important." She said this while wearing a bracelet that cost more than most people's cars paid for with my son's credit card. That's good to hear. Although, she continued, her voice getting softer, more conspiratorial. I hope you understand that as Michael's wife, I'll need to be his primary confidant, especially about financial matters. It wouldn't be appropriate for him to discuss our private business with anyone else, even family. There it was, the opening move to cut me out of Michael's life completely. I wouldn't expect him to share personal information, I said. Wonderful, because I'd hate for there to be any confusion about boundaries. Michael needs to feel like he can be completely honest with me without worrying about judgment from others. She was already planning to isolate him to make sure no one could warn him when she started draining his accounts. Sophia, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you love my son? Her smile never wavered, but something flickered in her eyes. What a strange question. Of course, I love him. Why would you ask that? Because loving someone means wanting what's best for them, even when it's not what's best for you. And I wonder if you've ever loved anyone that way. Now, the mask slipped just for a second. I saw the real Sophia, cold and calculating and completely without empathy. I think, she said slowly, that you don't know me as well as you think you do. You're absolutely right, I replied. I don't know Sarah Martinez at all. The effect was electric. Her face went completely white, then flushed red. For a moment, I thought she might actually lose control. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know Marcus Freeman or David Park. She stood up, so quickly her chair fell over. This lunch is over.
Sit down.
Sophia or Sarah, whichever name you prefer, she sat, but her hands were shaking now. Here's what's going to happen, I continued calmly. You're going to marry my son because stopping you now would hurt him more than letting you go through with it. But I want you to know that I know exactly what you are. And the second you hurt him, I will destroy you. You can't prove anything, can I? I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot from the video Carmen had found. Not the worst part, just enough to let her know what I had. The color drained from her face completely. That's impossible. I deleted everything. Technology is amazing these days, isn't it? Delete doesn't always mean gone forever. She stared at the phone, then at me.
What do you want?
I want you to be a good wife to my son. I want you to love him and take care of him and never give me a reason to share what I know about your past. And if I don't, I smiled and put my phone away. Then you'll find out what happens when you underestimate a mother protecting her child. She left without another word, and I sat there finishing my salad, feeling better than I had in weeks. At least now she knew I wasn't the helpless old woman she thought I was. But I should have known that threatening a predator would only make her more dangerous. The honeymoon was supposed to last a week. They came back after 2 days, and Michael looked like he'd seen a ghost. They showed up at my house on Tuesday morning. Sophia's face red and puffy from crying. Michael pale and shaking. I opened the door with my warmest smile. Hello, darlings. You're back early. How was the mansion? You know damn well how it was, Michael said, pushing past me into the living room. Sophia wouldn't even look at me. She stood in my foyer like she was afraid to come any closer, which was probably smart of her. I'm afraid I don't understand, I said innocently. Did something happen? The video, Mom. The video that somehow got uploaded to every television in the house. The video that started playing the moment we turned on any screen. I gasped dramatically. Oh my goodness, was there a virus in the system? How terrible. Cut the act. Michael snapped. You did this. Somehow you did this, Michael. Honey, I don't know anything about uploading videos. You know, I can barely work my email, but I'd practiced that speech. Carmen had taught me exactly what to do with the mansion's smart home system. It was remarkably easy once you knew what you were doing. It was her. Sophia finally spoke, her voice. She threatened me at lunch. She knows things about my past, things that aren't true, and she's trying to destroy our marriage. What things? Michael asked, looking between us. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Time to let them destroy each other. Sophia, if you have something to tell Michael about your past, now would be a good time, I said gently. It's all lies, she said desperately. She hired someone to make fake documents, fake videos, fake everything. She can't stand that you chose me over her. Michael looked confused. What fake documents? What videos? I walked to my desk and pulled out the folder Carmen had given me. Perhaps these will clear things up. I handed him the file with copies of her marriage certificates, divorce documents, police reports, and the newspaper articles about her previous husband's deaths. Michael's hands shook as he read through everything. Sophia, what is this? Why does this say your name is Sarah Martinez? I can explain. And why are there 2 marriage certificates with your picture on them? Michael, please let me. And what's this about a David Park dying in a fall down the stairs? Sophia, who are these people? She was crying harder now, makeup streaming down her face. I was going to tell you everything after we were married. I was scared you wouldn't understand. Understand what? That you've been married twice before? That 2 men died after divorcing you? That your real name is Sarah? It's not what it looks like. Then explain it, he said, his voice getting louder. Explain why my mother has newspaper clippings about you being investigated for insurance fraud. Explain why there's a police report here about credit card theft. I sat down in my arm. Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching.